Okay, and we're joined by political reporter Rick Albin now to take a look at the big races we'll really be keeping an eye on this evening.
You know, they're all big. There are so many things going on. So many things will be decided tonight, but we do want to break down some of those races that we'll be watching really closely because these could have a big impact for years to come. And we'll start with the race for governor. Obviously, Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer running for re-election against Republican Tudor Dixon. You just heard from both of those candidates. That is a race to watch. Real Clear Politics still has that in the single digits when it comes to the average of polls. Other races, Secretary of State Benson, the Democrat, Caramo, the Republican, and Attorney General, of course, Nessel, the Democrat, DePerno, the Republican. We'll watch all of those. We'll watch them closely. On the three big ballot issues, statewide proposal, term limits, voting reform, and abortion rights, these are all going to be interesting to watch throughout the night. Abortion rights is probably the one that's gotten the most attention, but they all have big impacts, and they all could potentially see some legal challenges. In the 3rd District, you just heard John Gibbs and Hillary Skolton talk about how they feel. Remember, this new district is open due to the fact that Gibbs beat Peter Meyer back in the primary, and it's completely redrawn, like all of our congressional districts. Looks completely different than it ever has before. So this is one we'll be watching. Not the only one, by the way. When we get into our continuing coverage, I'll tell you about at least 2 or 3 other congressional seats I'll be watching tonight. And then this. This is kind of a bookend to the first race for governor. Who controls the House and the Senate? Again, all of these districts have been redrawn since the census. So instead of having the same old districts that we've been used to for a couple of decades, they've changed once in there, but they remained largely the same. Some of these are dramatically different, and this may be the first time in decades the Democrats have had this good a chance at taking over the Senate. But can they do that? We'll be talking about that balance of power, and we'll also be talking about why it matters for the governor's race. Because if the governor goes back, and whoever the governor is, if the governor goes back and has divided government, it really will be similar to what we've seen for the past 4 years. But remember, for 8 years before that, the legislature and the governor were all in the same party. And that generally means that there is a different direction and more cooperation. So one of the things on the ballot tonight is, will we have divided government going forward? And there's no way to know that until we see how those races come in. And we may not know until pretty early in the morning, because if it gets close enough, those legislative races may not get called tonight.
Wow.
So
well, we will be here.
Yes, absolutely.
We will be very busy, Rick. Thank you.
You bet.
And of course, we will have crews all across the state tonight to bring you live coverage as results come in. And you can see that Emily and I will have the 3rd congressional race covered. I'll be at Hillary Skolton's campaign event. Emily will be at the John Gibbs event. We'll also have crews covering the governor's race, Prop 3, and live with local clerks.
And we'll have updates throughout our newscasts. Then join us for special primetime coverage at 8 o'clock on WXSP and WoodTV.com. That's followed by special editions of News 8 at 10 and 11 right here on Wood TV 8.